All right, thanks, Mike. Welcome, everybody. Good to get back off the bye week. Feel like we had a very, very productive bye week with our guys. We practiced Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Got after it pretty good, especially on Tuesday and Wednesday. Attacked a bunch of different areas that, as we went back and looked, not only at the Baylor game, but really the first 4 games as a whole. Found several different areas that we felt like we've got to do a better job coaching, do a better job playing, and really attack those areas all week. I thought the guys had a great mentality throughout the week. Did not feel like we were on cruise control by any stretch. It was very, very competitive. We got a lot of work done, and then was able to give our guys the weekend off. A lot of them went home. Be a lot of their last chances here to go home probably before Christmas, so a chance for them to get away a little bit, and a chance for us as coaches to get out on the road recruiting, which we did, pretty actively on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So back in here, back at home here, Iowa State coming to town. I think a very, very improved football team. Another head coach, I think, just does a tremendous job. Matt Campbell there, I think, as always, from his days at Toledo and his short time there at Iowa State, I think a guy that gets the most out of his players. I think they've really improved a lot. They're 2-2, but they've had a couple of really close losses. Both the Iowa and the Texas games, were very close, very competitive games. They return a lot of guys defensively, especially in that secondary. They really show up there. I think they're one of the better secondaries in this conference, some really good individual players. And they do some really nice things scheme-wise that give you trouble. Offensively, they've got Jacob Park playing at quarterback. He's doing a nice job for them. Played some against us last year. He's a good football player. And the guy that really stands out offensively, the backs are good, but the receiver, Lazard, we know plenty about him. He's a great player, one of the best receivers in this league. So they're going to challenge us. It's going to be a competitive football game. We're excited to get back home, excited coming off the bye week to be back here in game week again, and off we go. So we'll go questions.
What's your injury situation?
We're better. We're better than we've been. Will Johnson, we expect him back. Robert Barnes back. Cody Ford back. We'll get Amani Bledsoe back off of his suspension. So be excited to get him back. And then Matt Romar still probably end up being a game time decision. We'll see how that plays out through the week, but not ready to say one way or the other. And then did want to announce that Curtis Bolton is going to have ankle surgery. He'll miss the season.
Coach, when you were prepping for Iowa State last year, didn't have Samaje, didn't have Joe. What did you envision for Dimitri?
Well, we didn't have a ton of prep time. We knew about Samaje, then we didn't find out we were going to have Joe, not going to have Joe until maybe the day before the game. So there wasn't a lot of prep time. It just we really just pieced it together, honestly. And it was I remember it was challenging just because taking Dimitri out of his normal role, changes a lot of other parts to it. It wasn't just simply, all right, the tailbacks aren't there, we play him at tailback. You're talking about taking a key piece. So, we had to push it together. Had we not had the experience that we've had together as a staff, it would have been a nightmare. But we pieced it together, and Dimitri, I think Connor Knight, some other guys did a great job handling it.
Does that open your eyes a little bit more to get him the ball? I mean, not that you didn't know he was versatile, but has that maybe allowed you to do some more things with him that's even on this season?
Yeah, that's maybe fair to say. We'd seen him carry the ball some in practice, that you guys hadn't seen before that. So we felt like that he was a capable ball carrier. But sure, to see a guy go step out on that stage with limited reps and go, I think, rush for 100 yards. He had several big catches. To be able to do all that was certainly impressive.
What impressed you most about Iowa State's defensive effort against Texas?
A lot. It was a strong effort. They gave up one early, and then it was pretty much shut down from there. I mean, they really did. They made some adjustments in the run game. Texas ran it pretty well on them early, and they made a few adjustments that it looked like that they did a good job with. They didn't give them anything deep. They really covered the long ball and made them drive it, and then they made some key plays. Had a turnover or two. They played hard, physical like they always do. And you could tell they're doing some different things in the secondary. They've got, I think, some experience back there and some guys they know they can count on. So they've had some good players step up. You know, they've got their quarterback from last year, Lanning, is now starting at Mike linebacker, which you don't see that very often, but he's doing a heck of a job with it. So they're getting better. They're doing more and more scheme-wise, and they're troublesome. There's no doubt about it.
Lincoln, your first open date as a head coach, did you stick to the script, your first couple of years here, or did you implement any changes? How did that go?
We looked back the last few years. We were probably a little bit of a mixture. You know, we did a few things the same. We did a few things within practice a little bit differently. Some different competitive periods. We got a lot of good work. But then we followed kind of the same overall script of trying to get our work done, especially in the early to middle part of the week, and then trying to, I think, again, you got to let these guys get away. I mean, we grind them here. We really do. And those guys getting away, and some of them, getting to see their family's face or whatever it is, that does a lot for these guys. So they'll come back here refreshed and ready to go start today.
Lincoln, do you just kind of apply things that you've done as an offensive coordinator trying to make your offense better over the course of a season to an entire team now? I mean, sitting there 4-0, third in the country, how do you make sure that guys are pressing towards getting better every day?
Well, I think it's twofold. You've got to lead them that direction as a staff. You've got to show them, the areas where we're doing some good things that we got to continue to build on, and you got to show them the areas that we're not doing very good, and we've got plenty of those. We haven't been very good on fourth down on either side of the ball. We've had too many fumbles offensively. We forced a few turnovers, but not enough defensively. So we've got some key areas that we know we got to improve on. So you've got to put that in front of them, and then you've got to have guys that you have to have leadership and guys that are hungry enough that don't care about the 4 games before, that just care about us getting better and us playing at our very best. And we've not put our very best out there yet.
You said you wanted your players to get away. How did you get away, or did you just watch any games, or even?
Yeah, we recruited heavy on Thursday, Friday, so it was my first chance to get out. I don't go recruiting, when we've got games. I'm going to stay around our team. They're always the number one priority. But so all of us were out Thursday, Friday. We had a few guys out Saturday. I came back home late Friday night and hung out with the family a little bit Saturday, watched some games, spent some time with my girls.
After 4 games, what do you see as secondary play now?
Our secondary play? We've played pretty good. Other than the Baylor game, we didn't play our best game in the Baylor game. So we've got to play better. I think getting some of these pieces back is going to help. I think you see a little bit of result of you lose a Will Johnson and Robert Barnes and even Jordan Parker earlier in the year. You've got less bodies. A lot of those guys are very active on special teams as well. Your guys are taking a lot of reps, getting a little bit. I thought maybe a little bit worn down there in the Baylor game. So getting those guys back from a depth standpoint from special teams, I think, is going to help. And then we've got to, kind of like we said after, we're making enough big plays. We've got to do our job. We've got to do it within the framework of the defense and not stray from that.
How did those guys respond in practice last week after that performance at Baylor in the secondary?
Oh, they responded good. They see it. I mean, a lot of those guys have played a lot of ball. They understand it, and so they responded to the challenge. It was very competitive with our whole team, but especially between our wideouts and DBs. Very, very competitive during the bye week, and I think we took some big steps.
Have Abdul and Trey kind of stepped ahead of the pack, or are you still going with a 4-headed monster at running back?
Yeah, a little bit week to week there. I think those guys they've performed the best in the game so far. There's no doubt about it. So they'll get first crack at it. But we still continue to see bright spots from Marcellus. Same thing with Rodney Anderson. So that's far from being set in stone.
Lincoln, those guys are good players, and they're obviously skilled and make a lot of plays. But what is it, maybe from a defensive coach's perspective, to not know who's going to get the football? And then you throw Trey in there, not Trey, Dimitri in there, the things he can do. How do you, when you're trying to scheme against that, how impossible is that to stop?
Well, there's twofold. You don't. It's nice to have that many weapons, but you don't want to get too specific where they know when this guy goes in the game, you only do this or that. And so that's where we're trying to find balance there, and that's where I think we continue to stress these guys offensively. The more if you're great at a few things, that's fine, and we'll use it some. But the more things you can do well, the more we're going to play you. Those specialty guys are tough, and so again, you can get guys are able to zero in on you, and that's the last thing you ever want. We want to be the one teeing off on people. We don't want them teeing off on us. And so I would say up to this point, Trey and Abdul have probably been the guys that have been the most versatile, and that's why they've played the most.
Along those lines, how's Abdul grown as a receiver and a pass blocker?
A lot. He was always really willing as a pass blocker. I think mentally he's come a long ways as far as understanding our protections. He's better physically, so I think he's able to stand up, to those blitzers a little bit better. As a receiver, he's come. It's really remarkable, honestly. His hands were a major question mark coming in. We liked everything else about him, and he has worked his tail off on it. I mean, he spends as much time on the jugs and catching tennis balls and all the different things we do with our receivers. He spends as much or more time than any receiver we have on it. So it's not a secret why he's improved so quickly.
I think if people talk about how difficult it is to play middle linebacker, is it possible to compare what Kenneth Murray is doing to maybe a true freshman coming in and playing quarterback?
I think it's fair to compare it. Yeah, it's the difference I would say is, there's a ton mentally on both, but how good physically you have to be to play middle linebacker at such a young age. I mean, because you're having to do so many things. You're having to cover. You're having to stuff the run. You're having to run sideline to sideline. I mean, so there's a lot physically that goes on you as well. So yeah, it's not the position when you draw it up that you want a true freshman starting at, but the situation and the fact that Kenneth has gotten better and shown so much potential has called for it.
Has the off week kind of helped him because these first 3-4 games he was facing different types of offenses? Maybe stepped away, kind of ignored what you've gone through, I guess maybe.
Yeah, no, I think it was a good for him to kind of catch his breath and look back and continue to let those corrections from the game sink in and also see all the things he's doing well and try to build on it. So I think he's one of those guys, he puts everything he's got into it. And as long as he keeps that mentality, he's going to keep taking steps just like he did during the bye week.
Does it help the defense scout an opponent when they play an Iowa State team that they're familiar with from last year because the first 4 weeks were different teams, different coaching staffs?
I would say it's fair to say. You're used to them schematically, although they're doing a few things different, like most people. You've got a little bit better feel for their personnel. So yeah, I'd say that's been an advantage.
What role will Amari Bledsoe play for you?
We'll see. We're going to get him out there. He's going to be in the rotation. I mean, no question about that. And after that, it'll be just based on his production. But if he continues to do what we've seen on the practice field, I would expect he'll have a chance to be out there quite a bit for us.
When you're identifying characteristics in running backs to be successful in your offense, what are you looking for, again, in your offense? Or is it the same characteristics that everybody's looking for in every offense?
I don't know what everybody else is looking for. We're looking for versatility. I mean, that's definitely, part of it. We're looking for something special when they have the ball in their hands. To me, they got to have some kind of great quality, whether it's, great speed, elusiveness, power. If you can get all the above, it's all the better. We look a lot for intelligence, just how football smart are they? We put a lot on these guys mentally, and they've got to be able to handle it. So we try to get a feel for what kind of mind they have for the game. We look a lot at durability, and then we look at their bodies. Do they have that NFL running back body or the frame to grow into that? So those are probably some of the key points for us.
Baker set an NCAA record for passing efficiency last season. Statistically, he's actually much more efficient this season. Where have you seen the most improvement?
Oh, probably the same boring answer. That his trust of our guys has just been a lot higher than it was earlier in the year. Last year. So he's done a good job. He hasn't forced things. He's hung in there pretty well. I think he's really only had one ball. The ball there at the end of the half against Baylor that should have been picked off. That's really been the only one that's been even very close that I can remember through the first 4 games. So yeah, he's settled in. He's playing well. He's in sync with our guys. So, and we've made a lot of plays around him. You know, we hadn't put balls on the ground. We're protecting well. You know, so guys have made some competitive plays in the receiving game. So that's always a big part of it too.
Is there a particular stat you look at that says how well a quarterback's playing?
Wins and losses, pretty much. I mean, that and no, not really. I mean, it's probably a culmination of things. I mean, you definitely look at the completion percentage. You definitely look at, you know, times that we're putting the ball in jeopardy. Those are two of the biggest ones to me. But no, I think for me I don't grade them, you know, after the game. I don't give the quarterbacks a grade. It's always been a little bit more of a feel thing for me. I mean, you could tell by watching the film than by seeing just how we're moving as a whole offensively. That's going to tell you a lot about how your quarterback's playing.
How do you go between having a quarterback where he is efficient, you know, doesn't take unnecessary chances, but you don't want to be too careful?
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that with him too much. You know, that's a good thing. We've got a good balance there, and it is. It's there's a fine line. It's I'll say tough coaching them, but that's one of the things that we spend a lot of time talking about of when we're going to take the chances, making sure that they're calculated, making sure that they make sense schematically. It's the right time in the game for it, and I think his understanding of when we want to take those has gotten stronger as the years have went on.
NCAA passer efficiency rating formula really, really weighs heavily on yards per completion, yards per attempt, and of course Baker's really good at the deep ball. How does that jive with when you got here, what your offense looked like? Because coming out of Texas Tech, out of the air raid, Mike Leach, it wasn't the deep ball.
Yeah, no, it's. I think a lot of it's just been built off our run game here, and being able to run the ball like we do. Has made a big difference. We've had to adjust some things in the throw game. You know, we've become a lot more play action oriented, and we've had some. You know, he's been a good deep ball thrower. We've had some guys that can go get it here all 3 years, and I think we're going to continue to have those guys. So, but no, it's been impressive that he's been able to complete. Not him. We've been able to complete. You know, the percentage of passes and also hitting a lot of the big plays. So that's how you want it. It is definitely different, but we're a lot different than we were in the Texas Tech or the East Carolina days for sure.
His emotion, Lincoln, continues to be a big topic, not just how well he's playing, but just how he carries himself. And there are some who worry that he's talked about a fine line, and I know you've been over this with him before, but there are some who are worried that you don't want to step over, and I guess the penalty at Baylor would be an example of you got to check that every now and then.
Yeah, no, you do. I mean, nobody's, regardless of what kind of player you are, nobody's valuable enough to have those. And he's got to know where it is. His energy and mentality brings a lot to our team, but he can't cross the line. He knows that. He's got to do better on that.
How do you manage that? Because it seems like Baker's a guy that needs to be on that edge. You know, but you don't want him to go to how do you manage that? And it seems like it's something that's recurring with different situations, like after games, before games, whatever. How do you manage that?
No, I don't think it's been recurring. I mean, I think he's had. I think that's the only penalty he's ever had here. No, he had one last year in the Tech game.
I'm just talking about, the flag.
Yeah, but that's the opinion of the outside on those. You know, I don't worry too much about those. If he's got something within the game that's going to hurt us as a team, or he does something outside that doesn't represent the program well, then we'll address it. But, I mean, guys, barking back and forth before a game, I mean, that happens before every single game with every single player on the field. So I could care less about that. Now, he does something that hurts the team or doesn't represent this program in the right way, then I'll address it with him just like I would any other player on this team.
Lincoln, going back to Bledsoe, did you do anything special to keep him mentally sharp throughout the last year?
Yeah, we did. We've kept him, even though he's been on our scout team here for the first several weeks of the season, we kept him in the defensive line meetings. We kept him over with those guys for individual. We tried to keep him engaged as much defensively as we possibly could so that there wouldn't be as much of a learning curve when he got back. And so based on what we've seen as coaches through the last week, I don't think he's behind at all. So I think it was successful, and he got a chance to work against our guys, our offensive line. So I think he was getting some good physical work during that time as well.
So what do you attribute that week-to-week success to?
Just taking it one game at a time. We've had a good stretch run there, but it's been with different teams too. So each team's kind of found its niche and its groove, and probably because most of your conference games have come after the bye weeks or in the middle to later part of the season. Probably just the fact that we've improved a lot as a team over the last few years, and I think that's served us well in this conference. So that's our mission right now. We've got to be able to do the same thing.
I think in the last 3 years when you've lost, it's been a big game. Somebody, either a rivalry or somebody about as good as you were, or season opener in Houston, that kind of thing. You haven't really been snuck up on. What's the secret to that, making sure you got your guys ready when you're playing a team like Iowa State, you historically dominated?
Yeah, no, I think it goes back to having a championship mentality and understanding that every single game is important. At the end of the year, they all count the same, and we know what it takes to win this conference, and I think that's been big. And I think also you've got to understand at Oklahoma you're going to get everybody's best shot. I mean, that's just part of it. And so regardless of what you see on tape from whatever team you're talking about, maybe it was a tough a loss that they had or they didn't play well, you understand that you're going to see a different team against us. I mean, Baylor a couple weeks ago is a perfect deal. We could sit there and watch their tape against Liberty and say, well, they're not a very good football team. And we knew a combination of them getting guys back, improving as a team, and again, you get into Big 12 play, teams especially playing us, it's going to be different. And so you've got to understand that. You can't let them sneak up on you, and our guys have had a good mentality for that.
Have you, CeeDee Lamb, the penalty he got the targeting on, have you started coaching it differently? You learn anything about the Big 12? And the reason I asked, the OSU game, I don't know if you saw it against Texas Tech, there was a point where a receiver's going across the field, he's catching it, linebacker's not looking, and the receiver, he kind of just got in the way and bumped it. And it's almost like he was thinking about that play.
Yeah.
Are you, is that something you guys are you aware of that? Do you coach it differently?
Yeah, we have coached it a little bit different. Just trying to find that perfect point for our guys where you can still execute the block, but not put yourself in position where it could be interpreted as targeting. And then I think too, making sure that we clearly define for our guys the difference between a ball carrier, just a normal player in a game, and then the defenseless player. That description has been. We've had to work to define that for our guys, but they've got to understand it. That's how it's being called right now, and at least for this season, that's not going to change. So we've spent some time with both sides of the ball, and I think we've done a better job coaching it. I think our guys have a little bit better understanding.
Who else on the offensive line has graded out well beside Orlando?
Ben Powers, has played well. Bobby Evans has really played well. I think he of that group is probably our most improved player up front. He's, last year he was kind of the new guy, up there, the young guy that stepped up and won that right tackle job, and he kind of had to do it. He played against, it seemed like everybody's best player. He played against the Lawson kid at Auburn. He played against the Willis kid at K-State. So he played, it seems like every week the top D lineman was on him, and he hung in there well, where I feel like he's not hanging in there anymore. He's starting to become a dominant type player himself. So been really proud of the progress he's made.
Looking at Iowa State's Joel Lanning, made 20 tackles against Texas last week. How hard is it to go from quarterback to being able to do that?
Remarkable. Absolutely. Especially just physically. Mentally, you're learning the defense, but I mean, defense is just as hard as offense, but he obviously has a good mind for it if he was able to be the starting quarterback there. So he gets the game, and you could see just watching the games chronologically, you can see that he's getting more comfortable as a player in there each week. He's gotten better and better. So, but to do what he's doing physically right now and knowing how to take on blocks and get off blocks and make plays, that's remarkable. It really is.
Lincoln, as a head coach, what's it like to jumpstart Eric Striker, Tyler Darlington's careers in college coaching by having them on your support staff?
It's great. Those guys were two of the guys, specifically, I know for me personally when I got here that really bought in and, helped me a lot, early in my career here. Again, kind of their buy-in, their willingness to accept, how we were doing things offensively. Even Eric on the defensive side was always one of the players that I was closest with. And I think they were a big part of that team kind of starting this last kind of great run of football that we've had here. So, yeah, to be able to help them is great. And I'm not just doing it. It's not just a goodwill thing. I mean, they do a really, really good job. They're both really smart. They've got the unique skill sets, both of them, and they've made a difference in our office.
You mentioned, losing Curtis Bolton. I'm just curious, just pass rush wise, is that an area that you guys are really going to have to look at some other guys in terms of, whether it's Mark Jackson or Addison Gums or somebody like that, just try and help you out there in that?
Yeah, no, we're, that'll losing Curtis hurts us with some depth. We're going to have some guys, certainly step up with that. Mark is one of those. Addison is one of those. John Michael Terry. We've got a few guys that are going to have to step up and give us some depth. We're always looking for guys to be able to rush the passer. I don't know that this has a big effect on that, but trying to get those guys in the game to get more comfortable and so that we can get more pressure consistently from more guys than just Obo. I mean, absolutely, that's a big part of it. All right. Thank you all.